if you look at somebody's calendar, you can see their priorities. And when priorities are misaligned with personal values, that's when we start to feel resentment. That's when we start to feel frustration. That's when we start to feel guilt. And so it's easier to start at that tactical level of like, let's look at your calendar, let's audit how you're spending your time, and let's also audit how the things that you're spending your time doing affect you energy wise.
Hey, and welcome to today's episode of Pivot to Profit. Our amazing guest today is Kelsea Koenreich. She is going to tell us all about her crazy journey to entrepreneurship and how she's helping entrepreneurs scale, especially female entrepreneurs, scale and have the work-life integration. Kelsea, what's up, girl?
Not much, just enjoying summer with all of the children.
Yes, I hear you. So let me officially introduce you. Kelsea is the definition of transformation and intentional success. Born in Texas and now living in Florida, Kelsea has been an entrepreneur since 2011, but her journey began far from the boardroom. From binge drinking and 3 arrests to now becoming an author, speaker, business owner, wife, mom of 3, Kelsea is living proof that anyone can rewrite their story. She now helps entrepreneurs, especially those navigating both business and motherhood, build suitable, profitable lives without putting their well-being or loved ones on the back burner. Amazing to have you here. This is so fun. I love this. So before we dive in real quick, look, listener, if you're a founder, CEO, and you're like, where's my money? Why I don't have more in the bank? Why is payroll stressful? Just go to pamjordan.com. We are here to support you with your bookkeeping, fractional CFO, tax filing, and tax strategy needs. All right, Kelsea, you ready to jump in?
I'm so ready.
Okay, so we've done the research, and I know your young life had a lot of chaos in it. But let's start with like, what did you want to be when you grew up? What did like 7-year-old Kelsea be like, one day I'm going to be
This is actually like the funniest question um, because I wanted to be president, actually.
Yes, queen, let's go.
So, which it is, it's only funny because like politics is obviously a whole mess in itself. But I think that there was a little part of me that always knew that I was meant to lead. So
Yeah.
it was just like, if I'm that, then I can help as many people as possible.
I love the optimism. Okay, so
Right.
what were you taught about money as a child? Like, what were your influences from parents, cousins, people on the streets, like church organizations? Like, what were you told about money? Was it good? Was it bad? Should you have it? Like, how was that narrative for you?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I think it's like all of us have so many money stories and like beliefs that we obviously move from as adults. And I think that uncovering these things is one of the best things that you can do in money or elsewhere, right? So for me, it was very interesting because my parents divorced when I was 2. So I had 2 separate households that I was traveling back and forth from that were drastically different. And so one household in the money arena, what I learned from observation, because neither of my parents ever really taught me about money.
Got
Um,
you.
so in my father's household, it was all about appearances. So it was you need to have shiny things and nice things and everything needs to be pretty from the outside. That's what money was about. Money was about impressing other people. And then on my mother's side, there was a lot of scarcity, right? So there was not enough money. There was things that we couldn't do. And so I kind of just had this like almost like whiplash. And, I was primarily with my mom, but it was, I think the biggest thing was like they didn't really talk to me that much about money. And
Yeah.
so there was like almost like opposing things to where then, as children, we like learn by observing. So then I'm like, what even like, okay, we need money. There's not enough of it. But also when you get money, it's supposed to be for other people. Like that's kind of the conclusion that I came to as a young kid.
Yeah. And what I find is I love this question because it's so telling of how, as entrepreneurs, we step into it. And I call it money trauma, like the money trauma we have to overcome to be able to be successful entrepreneurs. Because if you can't reframe that narrative for yourself as an
Mm.
entrepreneur, you don't make it to the next 7, 8 figures.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I've had to do so much undoing, and I think it continues, as you know, like always. It's like this is, if you're an entrepreneur, this is forever a personal development journey. Congratulations.
Welcome. I love it. So let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey. When you started as a fitness coach. Tell me about that and why you chose that as your like, I'm going to hang a shingle and I'm going to be a fitness trainer. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's really like my evolution, and this like story of my evolution is one of my favorite things to talk about because I didn't realize until looking back, when you reach a certain point and then you look back and you're like, that's why things happened in that order. And it's so cool. So like you briefly mentioned in my bio, I was arrested 3 times. My last arrest was actually my rock bottom. And that's when I decided to turn my life around. And turning my life around meant that I had to get my shit together, right? So I was binge drinking, I was doing a lot of drugs, there was a lot of partying. And so I had to completely flip my life, like do a complete 180, like live the opposite way that I was living. And so for me, that looked like life coaching, therapy. And so I kind of did the mental health side of things first, and then the physical health came after.
Yeah.
And I just remember being in the gym, and every time I would leave the gym, and it was like I was inputting all these things to myself that felt really good. And I was like, the better that I felt, the more I was like, I believe that everybody should feel this good. And so it just naturally transferred into a business because I decided to get my personal training certification so that I could quit my bartending job because bartending sober is like a whole other thing.
Not helpful.
uh, yeah. Yeah. So I went into personal training, and long story short, I was sharing my own fitness journey online. So I've been online and posting really like frequently since 2010. And people were just coming to me. How are you doing what you're doing? This is amazing. Like seeing where you were and where you are now. And so I started in a big box gym, but then my husband really pushed me into online coaching. And so I built an online fitness business, started in 2011, which is crazy. Now I feel like such a grandma.
So I love it. So how did that online community of coaching evolve into what you're doing now?
Yeah. So the business advisory that I do now is 2 parts. So there is the strategic and tactical guidance of like the operations and the structure of the business. And there's also the internal guidance of who we are, how we lead, what our patterns, thoughts, and beliefs are. And so I learned from fitness and from being a competitor because I went on to compete in powerlifting and I was a figure pro and all these things. And I learned like that it had to be both tactical and physical and strategic, while also we had to address our minds.
Yeah.
And so I started teaching that way in fitness. And it was kind of unheard of, right? To when somebody comes to me and says they're struggling with their like nutrition plan, that I'm asking them about their stress and their anxiety and like what their thoughts are. And
'Cause it's
so
all connected.
it is. It really, really is. And so I was having those conversations, and I think somebody reached out to me and they were like, I really want you to be my life coach. And I was like, okay, well, I had been through a life coaching program. And so then I was like, well, I guess I'll get certified in that. And so it was a life coaching and executive coaching program that I went through. And all this time, I'm running this online business that has incredible demand. I'm doing no actual like real marketing. I'm just like showing up online. Like this is back in the Instagram days of like people actually saw the shit that you posted when they followed you,
Weird.
the good old chronological feed days. And so I had built this like really successful business. And I don't want to say it was without trying because I was working a lot.
Right.
Um, but I had just led from this place of customer care and customer service. So I developed this business acumen from experience, and we owned a gym. We later opened a cookie company. So I was getting all this business experience that just same thing with the fitness company. People were naturally coming to me and asking me business questions. And then I had my children, and people are like, how are you doing the business and kids? And so it just was like one pin after another, like layer over layer over layer, to where it's like, wow, like I'm really specializing and being able to help these mothers have actual balance that seems impossible while running highly profitable businesses.
Yeah.
And so I figured out, like by experimentation in my own businesses, like how to actually crack the code to be able to do both.
I love it. I love it. And you mentioned that you specialize in helping female entrepreneurs, mothers navigate entrepreneurship. So, like, what do you see? Are there blocks when it comes to money, but also being a mom? I call it work-life integration, but like, what do you see are the things that are stopping them? What are the walls that they're hitting that you're able to show them?
Mm. A lot of it is there is a lot of fear. The majority of obstacles that come up are fear-based. So there is the fear of setting boundaries, even if that boundary is reduction of your work hours, right? So I have people that have in-person practices, and we've, changed their office hours. And so there's a lot of fear of letting people down. So the things that I most commonly see are people pleasing, perfectionism, lack of boundaries. And the thoughts that are kind of aligning with that, and the overarching theme is that if I build this differently, if I try to scale differently than I've done it before, because most of my clients are either scaling to or past seven figures, then it's going to fall apart. So they're moving from this place of fear of loss, right? Because they've built something great and they've built it from a place of grit and hustle and running themselves into the ground. And they're like, well, if I change that, it won't work anymore.
Yeah,
And so we have to really disrupt that belief.
I love it. Are some tricks or tips that you give these female entrepreneurs who are trying to balance the want it all but don't know how to have it all with their schedule or getting help at home? Like, how do you help them identify some easy wins to get that integration, that balance?
Yeah. So you brought up exactly like one of the starting points is always in their actual calendar.
Mm.
Like if you look at somebody's calendar, you can see their priorities. And when priorities are misaligned with personal values, that's when we start to feel resentment. That's when we start to feel frustration. That's when we start to feel guilt. And so it's easier to start at that tactical level of like, let's look at your calendar, let's audit how you're spending your time, and let's also audit how the things that you're spending your time doing affect you energy wise. Because a
Mm.
lot of people, a lot of CEOs are just doing things because they've always done them without a second thought, usually because they're buried. And so actually starting with time, because that's something that we know and we feel like we can control, and actually setting some boundaries and starting to time block and starting to organize, because there's honestly like so much time that we can save if we just organize our time better. And so starting with the time and just looking at like where am I spending my time? What am I doing? And how does it make me feel? And then drawing that picture of what is the ideal in how you're spending your time. So I often refer to the concept of like reverse engineering. So starting with the end in mind, right? How often do you want to be working and how much money do you want to make? And so what does the business need to look like to support that? And like that's our North Star, right?
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you call out the energy piece of it because as a CEO, there's tasks that I can do that take like negative energy. And there's tasks that I do that take all of my freaking energy. And so I love that call out because I can time block and whatever. But if there's something on my calendar that I know is just going to drain me energetically, like I don't need to do that first thing, right? Or I need to delegate it as soon as possible. So I love that call out because it really does affect your day and your performance if the first thing you do is like the suckiest thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or if you feel like I've worked with a lot of people who there's a lot of apathy to
Yeah.
where you're just showing up and you're kind of numb, and like obviously that's a sign of burnout, but they're not attached, and that's what a lot of people who are at a high level don't talk about enough, is that as you build and you scale and it's like everything looks pretty from the outside, but if you become more of like a team manager and you're completely detach from your expertise or like the gift that you started with your business, you started your business with, you're going to feel disconnected and that's going to show up like in your business and in the culture.
Yeah, I agree 100%. 100%. So you've been doing this for a while. Along your journey, at what point were you like, oh, dang, money matters, numbers matter? Like for your own business. When was that moment?
Yeah, so actually, it was right before having my son, who just turned 9 this week. So when I started making money, to me, it was like you have one account and there's money there, and then there's money there, there's not money there. And I was like, something's off here. And so then before we bought our first home, there was just like things that we needed to get in order. And I feel like kids do that for us. Like they're just constant mirrors, like of all of our trauma, all our shit we have to deal with. But I'm like, oh man, I have like in charge of another person. I should get my shit together here.
Right?
And so it was really just like reflected to me then of like, okay, I actually have a surplus of money. I haven't been here before. And so my first inclination was like, we'll just hoard it all. We'll just save it all, which
Yeah.
is great for my net worth. But it's like there was a lot of scarcity driven activity, especially in those earlier years.
So what was a one of your first big financial wins as an entrepreneur where you were like, "Oh, I can actually do this. People will pay me." Like what was that moment?
Oh my gosh. To be honest with you, this is going to sound really silly, but there's a level of like, I'm very big on celebration because we don't celebrate ourselves enough.
Women
And
are
so
awful at it.
so bad. We're just like on to the next thing, on to the next thing. I do that for like every client win, every new signed client. Like I still to this day am like, this is the coolest fucking thing ever. Like I have never lost, and I think it's because of my history and like where I came from, but still every morning I wake up and I'm like, I get to do this. Like this is incredible. Like I just have this love, deep love for what I do and for the people that I get to work with. So to be honest with you, I feel that like multiple times a week. Like
I
just so
love that. That's
grateful.
amazing. Because you're right. Like as women, I've talked to lots of female entrepreneurs, we never celebrate. And then the
Yeah.
problem is when something big happens, like there's not a parade and there's not
Hmm.
balloons and a pony, right? Like, you hit that first six figures and like you still have to make dinner. And you hit that seven figures
Right.
and you have that first employee and you're like, does no one care? I did something really dope, right? And so I love that
Right.
you celebrate all of it, which is fantastic. And I'm sure
Yeah. And
that's what
I'll
you
share
tell
with
your clients as well.
exactly. All like it's like a running joke because so I have all of my clients in like a voice and text app, and then I have a group that just has all my clients in it so they can like refer and talk and whatever. And it's like a running joke of like, how am I celebrating? Because they know that that's going to be my first response. Like even on a call yesterday, this woman was it was like my community call with all my clients, and she's like, yeah. And I did the workshop, and there was like 92 people, and I was like, hold up, like you ran your first workshop, your first ever virtual workshop, and had 92 people sign up. We're just going to backtrack for a second because holy shit, you know what I mean?
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I think it's just really important. And to me, celebration and gratitude are linked. And I think that the more that we stay in gratitude, the more that we can attract. And
Yeah,
that's really important. That's what we want.
I love it. I love it. When you're working with female entrepreneurs, are there any other, you talked about time blocking. Are there any other tricks of like how not to feel bad about one or the other? Like, because I see a lot of women have shame around shame and guilt. Like the mom guilt is real. Like today I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to be gone for 3 days. And I do that once or twice a month, but there's still like the guilt and oh,
Mhm.
your mom's going on a trip again. Like how do you help navigate that all of us, I'm assuming all of us, many of us women carry?
Yeah, I think the first thing is normalizing all emotions. I think a lot of us have this idea of like you get to a place and then you no longer have X, right? Whether that's anxiety, stress, guilt. And that's actually not the case. The key is to learn how to respond differently. So, most importantly, remembering that feelings aren't facts. So, if you feel guilt, then it's like ask a question. Like we forget that we get to inquire and we get to challenge our thoughts. So if you feel guilt before you get on a plane, inquire into that. Why do I feel guilty? And if you feel guilty because maybe you haven't spent any one-on-one time with your kids lately because you've been working so much, then that's a call for change, right? And so I think it's really important that we're always inquiring within ourselves and opening those feedback loops. So it's really just like noticing the feeling, noticing the thought, asking yourself questions, and then you can get to a solution from that place. Because a lot of times what will happen is it's like guilt turns into I'm a bad mom, and then there's catastrophizing and spiraling, which is going to just keep you stuck. It's not going to allow you to actually move forward or find a solution. Versus if we just ask a question, why do I feel guilty? I feel like I'm being a bad mom. Okay, well, what does a good mom look like? How much time does a good mom spend with their kids? What does it look like when she's spending time with her kids? Like I talk about balance all the time, but balance isn't 50-50, right? Balance is being present where you are. Balance is being focused and attentive when you're, when I'm with you, when I'm with them, like whoever it's with, it's just being there. And so I think there's also an opportunity to kind of like rewrite the narrative and rewrite the beliefs around those sorts of things as well.
Yeah, I love that. The call out, and I wrote it down, is feelings aren't facts. Queen, yes. Because so many of us, and I've got teenagers, two teenage girls and a son, and feelings are everywhere in my house. And so, like, I have feelings, they have feelings, and then they have feelings on feelings. Like, literally, with my 13-year-old, she was losing it the other day. And I was like, okay, well, we've got our breathing exercises and grunting and stuff, but like, let's just not make a decision right now because you're just all feeling up.
Yes, yes. It's like when we get really emotional and then we're like, I think I'll just burn my business down today. That feels like a good choice. It's like, no, wait, where are you in your cycle and what just happened?
Amazing questions. Amazing. So let's talk about asking for help. Because a lot of female entrepreneurs don't want to do that. And you've talked about being fiercely independent for a long time and how that changed in you. So help us understand that change in you and how you inspire other females to be like, hey, can someone help?
Mm. Okay, so fun fact about me is I actually hate the term self-made. It is,
Okay.
I think, the hyper independence and the pressure that we feel as women to do everything ourselves and the way that our society has been built on the more you do, the cooler you are, the better you are, uh, is so disruptive and is so unhelpful, honestly. And so for me, I learned the hard way, right? Like, so never asking for help. I spent 10 years in self-destructive patterns, just destroying my body, my mind, and my life, frankly, right? I was in the medical unit because I told them that I was going to take my own life at my last arrest. And so I think it was that moment in realizing, okay, well, I still remember vividly when I got out of jail, I'm sitting on my bed and I'm crying because I realized that I was going to have to change everything about my life. I realized that I was going to lose everything, right? And so I think in that moment, it was like, okay, who can help me? Right. So in that moment, because it was the most pivotal moment of my life, and the first thing that I did was ask somebody for help. And because I saw the change that could come, the first phone call that I made was to a girl that knew about a program that was a second chance program that I was able to get into because I also had a felony drug charge along with my DUI. And long story short, it was just like, I just realized if you ask for help, things can get better. Like things can keep getting better. And so it was that moment and that first call for help that I just kept asking for help and kept asking for help. And it was like a new learned behavior of like, I actually don't have to do this alone. I actually am not better than like nobody, you reach a milestone, you reach an achievement. There's not an extra gold star for doing it by yourself. Like you get there. And then if you're by yourself, it kind of sucks.
Because you're
actually.
lonely.
Right. Right. Versus if you like all these freaking people got me here. Like still, I was talking to my husband about the other day. I still will send messages to the people that gave me rides when I had no driver's license. Or
Mhm.
the one friend that would take me to the gym when I started going to the gym, because that obviously spiraled into everything that I have today. So it's
Right.
just like it is the greatest thing that we could do is to be so brutally honest with ourselves that it's like doing this by myself is holding me back. It's
Yes.
keeping me stuck.
Yeah.
Like,
So powerful.
yeah.
So powerful. So, in your framework and that you're teaching, these women want to be both amazing mothers and amazing entrepreneurs. Do you feel that that's possible?
Absolutely. I know that it's possible. Not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm a pretty awesome mom. I spend a lot of time with my kids. I also am like very proud of my marriage. And I think that that's another piece that a lot of entrepreneurs, it's like, they're like, we're married, they'll be there like after this busy season. But when a busy season turns into 10 years, that's not fair to them. And so, yes, I know that it's possible. I've done it, my clients are doing it. And it's actually really incredible to see the ripple effect because my clients are then teaching other people. And like, I have some chiropractors who they do like holistic wellness. And so stress is a big part of like why their people are sick. And long story short, they're like using their teachings for these people of like you can like reduce your workload. And it's not just about reduction of hours because I think that's where people go to, right? Like we talked about schedules. It's not about necessarily just the reduction of hours, but there's input and output when it comes to energy. And so a lot of times if we're not evaluating like the input into ourselves, right? Like if we're not eating well, if we're not moving our bodies, if we're not meditating, if we're not journaling or whatever your sort of like recalibration activities are, like that's not going you can't last. Like it's about sustainability and longevity. So yes, it's absolutely possible and it's a really beautiful place to be.
I love it. Yes, I agree. You can be both because I am both and you are both. And we know lots of powerful, amazing women who are both.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And conversely, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, both male and female, where there's no amount of success at business that makes up for failure at home. And I have
Mm.
buddies that are in their 40s and 50s, and they are alone right now in a big house with a nice car and lots of money in the bank, but the family's gone because the
Oh.
one day, oh, it'll be different one day. Like the family was gone by the time one day showed up.
Mm. It's so, even you saying that, like I have tears in my eyes. Because thinking about that, that's the reality for so many people, right? To where it's like my story was drastically different. I didn't almost lose my life because of my business, but I did almost lose my life because of the choices that I kept making. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping people make different choices. Because at the end of the day, your choices create your reality. And it's just, it's not worth it because when you're, get to your last days, like are you going to look back and regret? Like you're never going to regret like be like, "Oh, I wish I worked more." It's always going to be like, "I wish I would have been present for those moments. I wish I would have not brought my laptop. I wish I would have actually looked my partner in the eyes and gotten to know who they were and what their goals were." That's the shit that matters.
Amen. Every day. Yes. I love it. So, Kelsey, this is amazing. What is next for you in your journey as an entrepreneur and a mom? Like, what's the next season of life going to look like?
Yeah, so I'm still in a season where my kids are little. So my youngest is still 3, and so I'm still navigating the like little kid with kind of some cool big kid energy. And so like honestly, what is next for me is just like continuing to live like moment to moment to enjoy the summer with my kids. We love to travel. We love to just take adventures with our kids. And so it's more a continuation of what I've always done. And that's what it's all about for me.
I love it. Perfect. All right. So, we're going to wrap up with some rapid response questions. So, just answer, no explanation. Are you ready?
Okay.
All
I
right.
feel so, I'm nervous.
I know, right? It's always fun. All right. Profit or growth?
Profit.
What's one expense you'll never cut no matter what?
One expense I'll never cut.
Yeah, business expense.
Oh, business expense. Oh, my admin all day, my assistant.
Yeah, I hear that one a lot, actually. So good job. What's the best money advice you've ever received?
Ooh, invest before you're ready.
Love it. If you had to start over today, what's the first thing you do differently with your business finances?
I would invest sooner.
Okay. And what does financial freedom mean to you?
Not having to check my bank account.
I love it. That's beautiful. Kelsey, thank you so much for sharing part of your story with us. I know there's so much more that we didn't even get into, but I just love your heart and what you're doing for female entrepreneurs. Where can people connect with you?
Yeah, so if you want to actually talk to me, Instagram is definitely the place where I hang out the most, but I'm on all social media platforms. LinkedIn, TikTok, I'm on there, but I'm not on there, honestly. So Instagram primarily, or my website, of course. You can see all the ways to work with me and learn more about my story, listen to my podcast, read my blog, all that stuff's on there.
Awesome. And we'll put all your links in the show notes. So that's fantastic. So, look, business owner, if you are stressed about balancing life and there's not enough money in the bank, again, go to pamjordan.com. We'd love to talk to you and support you and get all of those numbers in order so that you have less stress and can breathe and be able to be the best wife, mom, husband, father that you can be. Thank you so much, Kelsey. I appreciate it. And all of you out there, remember, it's not what you make that matters, it's what you keep.